Welcome to Books and Tea with Sarah. I'm yours truly. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Sarah. I live in the DC metro area and graduated a year ago from Ohio State University with my bachelor's in chemistry. Other than that, there's not much else. I really like to read, which is kind of why I wanted to start this channel. And so I'm just going to get into it with the Booktube Newbie tag, which is a little stereotypical, but who cares? So the first question is, why did you start this channel? I really like reading. I like talking about reading, but unfortunately there aren't that many people that I know who read the same types of books that I do, so I kind of just wanted someone to talk to about the books that I like to read. My boyfriend reads a lot, but he doesn't read the same books as I do. So it's a little difficult and not very fun to not be able to talk about things that I like. I also kind of just wanted to make friends, and I kind of just wanted a place to share my thoughts. I read a lot of books that I think have interesting stories and interesting things to say, especially about human life in general. And so I just really like to share my thoughts on those things, especially with people who have also read the book. Question number 2, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to Booktube? I'm not the most creative of people, but I hope to come up with some really neat ideas for videos. I also think that I can bring a different perspective as a non-liberal arts degree. I feel like a lot of people that I watch, at least on Booktube, have a liberal arts degree, which doesn't allow for a lot of diversity, especially with ways of thinking. As a chemistry major, I have a very different way of thinking than a lot of liberal arts degrees. Question 3, what are you most excited for with this new channel? I'm really excited to meet new people and to share my book interests with other people from all over the world. I think that's really cool. And I'm just excited to have a place to express my thoughts, you know? I thought about starting a blog instead because I think I would be a little camera shy. But then I realized that I don't read blogs, so why would I start something that I don't even pay attention to? Not that blogs are bad or anything, I just don't spend my time reading them. So I figured I would start on a platform that I enjoy, like YouTube. Question 4, why do you love reading? Why don't I love reading? I just think it's an awesome way to experience new places without being able to go to all these different places. So through reading, I'm able to experience them. It's also just really neat to see all the different ideas and stories and characters and even worlds that people come up with. I think that's awesome. And one of the coolest things, it blows my mind the kinds of things that people come up with. Question 5, what book or series got you into reading? So I've had an off and on relationship with reading, which I'm sure people can relate to. Just as I grew up and classes got harder, I had to pay more attention to other things. Reading just kind of took the back burner at certain points in my life. When I was younger, obviously Junie B. Jones and Magic Tree House got me really into reading. I think that really started my love of collecting books. I remember every Christmas my grandmother would ask me for a Christmas list, and I would just put down like Junie B. Jones number 1 through 10 or Junie B. Jones number 15 through 20 or something like that, because I didn't have those ones yet, even though I hadn't even read like number 5. I wasn't anywhere close to those next books of the series. I still wanted to have them. And then school started getting harder, so I kind of fell out of reading, and I got back into reading in high school. My junior year I read Jane Eyre, and around that time my friend showed me the library, which I had never been to my high school library before my junior year, which is a little ridiculous. I mean, other than classroom visits for research projects and stuff. So my friend took me to the library, and then one of my other friends introduced me to Janet Evanovich, which I read so much of Janet Evanovich, the Stephanie Plum series. They were just so easy to read, and I was able to read them in one sitting. So those really got me back into reading. And then when I started college, it was hard for me to read again. It was really hard for me to adjust to the workload that I had. And so it wasn't until the end of my freshman year I took a British lit class and we read Wuthering Heights, which I adored. And then leading into that summer, I started working at the library. So that kind of got me back into reading, I decided to do a summer of Sarah Dessen. And so I read Sarah Dessen all summer because I had read one of her books a few years before that and I loved it. And so she was coming out with a new book that summer, so I just decided I would read all of her books. And after that, my sophomore year, I got a lot more serious about my studies because I kind of screwed up my freshman year, and so I didn't get to read as much. And then I fell in love with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I found out that he was coming out in a new movie that was based on a book, The Double by Jose Saramago, along with Blindness. After I read The Double, I read Blindness, and I just adored those books. They were so great. He really had a good perspective on the human species and what makes people tick and how society reacts to different stresses, which was really amazing for me to read about. Okay, so question number 6, what question would you ask your favorite booktuber? I have a lot of favorite booktubers. I suppose I kind of just want to ask them all general life questions, like what do you do for a living and things like that, because I feel like they never talk about their jobs or anything. Number 7, what challenges do you think will be the hardest to overcome with starting a booktube channel? So for me, it's definitely going to be consistency. I work 2 jobs, so I feel like having enough time to sit down and film and edit and everything is going to be difficult for me, but I think 1 video a week is an acceptable challenge. And then definitely coming up with creative content. I'm a slower reader. I read maybe 2 books a month, maybe 3, and then the rest of the books that I read are audiobooks, which are usually just things that are easy listening, like adult romance fiction, things like that. And so I'm not gonna have books to talk about all the time, and so coming up with different ways to talk about books is gonna be a little bit difficult for me, definitely. Question 8, where do you read? I read just about everywhere. Up until recently, I would always read in the car, although now I read audiobooks, but now it seems like I get car sick or something, I don't know. And then I also mostly travel with my boyfriend nowadays, so we usually talk when we're driving just to keep us alert and everything. But other than that, I'll read on my lunch break at work, which makes me take too long of lunch breaks. I like reading on the bed, which sometimes makes me fall asleep. I like reading on the couch, but then I get distracted by TV. And reading on the porch has definitely become my new favorite place. We had a few nice days in January, February, and I got to sit out on our balcony for the first time because I just moved into this place in November. It was so nice. I look forward to a really nice summer to be able to read on the balcony. Question 9, what kind of books do you like to read? So I like to read just about everything, particularly young adult, but I feel like that's mostly because most of the booktubers I watch read young adult and recommend young adult, and I typically stick to recommendations. I mean, there's so many books out there, it's really hard to decide what to read without having someone tell you what to read. I typically stick to young adult. I've really been wanting to read more adult fiction, especially after finding a love for Jose Saramago. I just really want to read more adult fiction. Graphic novels, I don't read them regularly, but I do enjoy them. I've kind of steered away from middle grade a little bit just because I think it's just a little too slow for me. I don't know. I read Percy Jackson after my senior year of high school because I had never read that series when I was a kid, and it was just really slow. I don't know. And I read it on ebook when I first read it, so that might have been part of it, but I have that book now, the physical book, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe if I try it again, it'll be better because people love it so much. Like, even people who read it as 20-year-olds love it so much. So I kind of hope that I like it more reading the physical book. But yeah, pretty much everything. I read everything. I'll read anything that's recommended to me. And then finally, I'm gonna add my own question. I'm kind of surprised that people don't put this at the end of their videos because usually this video is uploaded as my first video type thing. And so I feel like people would be interested in this, so I decided to add, what are you currently reading? I'm currently reading The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 3rd novel in the Mistborn trilogy, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm about a third of the way, almost halfway. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I love this series. It's so good. The 2nd book dragged for me a little bit, so it was hard to get through. It took me a long time to read, but the 3rd book is going really quickly for me, but I think that's mostly because I want to get to the end to know what happens to everybody. to everyone I love. Yeah, other than that, I guess I'm reading like 4 different books also. Like I'm listening to an audiobook in the car when I'm driving to work, and then I'm also I was reading The Knife Never Letting Go, but I had to put that down for a while for reasons if you've read it, you know. I threw the book across the room back in September, and I haven't picked it up yet other than to move. And then I'm also in the middle of Storm of Swords, which has been taking me a year, I think. Yeah, I think I started it last May. Here we are in March. Hopefully I finish it before May, though. I would really like to finish that book before I get to a year anniversary. That's kind of sad. Yeah, so that's all about me and my hopes and dreams for this channel. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'd love to answer different questions that people have. If you want to connect with me, if you live in the DC metro area, I need friends. So if you want to connect with me, just let me know, and we'll figure something out, because I need people to talk to. I'll leave links to my different social media that I use. Some things I'm not going to link just because I want to keep certain things personal, and I'm not really sure yet if I want to mix my personal social media to this channel yet, or if I want to create separate social media for this channel. I'm only gonna have like one Goodreads account, so I'll go ahead and link that, I guess. Subscribe if you're interested, and I'll see you guys soon.